Suppose you're applying for your very first job out of college, and your potential employer asks for your passwords to your social media accounts. Would you be hesitant to hand it over if it was the deciding factor as to whether you got the job? Since the advent of the internet, the line between public and private information has become blurred. Therefore, it is necessary to take steps towards establishing the Internet Constitution. We, the generation of technology, in order to form a more regulated internet, establish privacy, ensure net neutrality, provide guidelines of accountability, and transfer the blessings of our entitled liberties given by the United States Constitution to our cyber lives. We hereby establish this Internet Constitution for the United States of America.
My name is David Rudd. I'm a professor of marketing, a member of the Department of Business and Economics. I don't think employers should be given your private password to anything unless you give it to them. We're talking about companies who are going to do significant amounts of hiring of people who are active in social media, who have the technical skills to, in a sense, spy through social media. If somebody has a deal with Facebook to access somebody's files to which they have not been given permission by the person whose file is there, I think that's a violation. On the other hand, if you've decided to connect to 3 million people, or if you've got 4 million people following your tweets, and you're inviting the world to join your pyramid, and the company decides to join your pyramid and gains access to the stuff, whether you specifically gave them that right or not, if you're inviting in the world, you can't exclude this part of the world. My caution to young people is anything you decide to put on the web, you must assume that it will be there until the day you die.
I think that employment today is largely based on compatibility with a company and with the company's culture. Social media is a great way to look at who you actually are and your personality. So I think, in a sense, social media is useful for employers determining a good match.
You need to think from a marketing perspective that every single message you send out, everything you post, everything you put out under your name, every picture of you that goes out is a part of your brand. If a lot of what's out there is hard to explain, you ought to create a marketing page that is the first thing that people find when they try to find you, and put everything else under enough software and password protection that it stays private.
I think there are certain things that may be posted that aren't really meant to be bad or anything. For example, like I had a Super Bowl party with friends that we all had cups in the picture, but it was just fruit punch, like there was no alcohol or anything. And I think employers, if they would see that, could always assume the wrong thing, which would potentially take you out of candidacy.
I think that if you have a social media identity that is protected, then I think it's fair game for a company to say, I want to see what's out there to the public. And if you have what is yours that is private or password protected, I think that's yours and it's password protected. And as long as that information doesn't overlap into the job responsibilities, it shouldn't matter.
Because I am an openly gay woman or a lesbian, I think that I want that privacy on Facebook and stuff like that. I would hope that me being hired or not hired wouldn't be based in any way on my sexual orientation, but I guess if that was taken into account, people would very easily be able to see that based on my Facebook profile. I don't think that I list my sexual orientation on Facebook, but clearly I have a girlfriend and she's in my profile pictures and stuff like that. So I don't know, I think that it makes me a little tentative about what exactly I post on Facebook, but at the same time, I'm also, in regards to my sexual orientation, I'm very proud of who I am, I'm very open, and if someone wasn't going to hire me because I'm a lesbian, I don't think I would really want to work for them.
Just be smart about what you post, because employers can look at it if it's public, especially if you know it's made public, and just be aware that a lot of people interpret that as a representation of yourself.
The problem is we decided in the very beginning that the internet was going to be an open source.
Free information and surfing the web should be something that everyone can have access to any kind of site that they want, really. I mean, when I say that, within reason, you know, obviously a terroristic website isn't going to be okay, so it's not exactly a clear-cut answer, but in general, I do think people should be able to have access to whatever information they would like.
I think the foundation of the internet and even the United States is based upon freedom of information. So I think that it's important that information isn't regulated on the internet. However, at the same time, I also recognize that the internet can be a way to organize terrorist groups or other antisocial activities.
Maybe like people looking up how to make bombs or things like that, that they can specifically control what sites those people can go on. I'm not really sure how they would go about that because it gets tricky, but sometimes the government just definitely does need to step in to protect the citizens.
I do not believe that in the end the government can control it, in which case it's probably a good idea for us as a collective society to decide how to use it best and how not to, because I don't believe it's something that can be entirely controlled. I don't know if an internet provider is entirely responsible for monitoring those sites, but I do believe when it comes to their attention that something untoward is happening, that they should take whatever action needs to be taken, whether that's limiting access, taking things down, providing appropriate action to the courts or law enforcement agencies based on whatever it is they're seeing. I can tell you as a judicial officer of an educational institution, there are a lot of questions about whether or not we should use information derived from social media in decisions we make about policy violations, behavioral, things going on campus, and it's a difficult one. And so I think it is a slippery slope if we take things off of social media and interpret them how we want to and make decisions based on them.
A more regulated internet could be beneficial because it would make a lot of us feel safer about what is going on online. And I think as long as we can still access the internet for things that we need, such as research or social media, you want to stay connected with friends and family, then I think regulation would be great.